Hi folks, this is Charles and I'm the product developer at the home of the OxyGreen Blaster and Bedbug Destruct system. And I'm here today with two of my newfound friends, Ed Whiting and David Brooks from BW Pest Solutions here in Richmond, Virginia. And folks, these two gentlemen invested in our system some 4 months ago, and they have now used it a number of times to successfully eradicate bedbugs. So we know that one of the biggest challenges that we've had to face in this pest control world to demonstrate to real-world PCOs and PMPs all over the country is that there is another way. There's a way that works that is not heat, that is not steam, that's not freezing, and doesn't require the use of toxic chemical pesticides. And we developed this system very slowly over the last 2.5 years. We brought it into the world through a series of beta tests, first with apartment building owners in Houston, Texas, and then with real PMPs from PCT magazine. And these gentlemen have gotten in after our first 2 years of trials, and they have our fully developed system. They own a gold package, correct?
Correct.
And so I know anytime you're using a new system, there's a little bit of a learning curve. And you folks have already been through that. Now, how long have you two been in the pest control world? I think you told me you have a combined 42 years of pest control experience. And you said you started in Orkin originally?
28 years ago.
Yes.
Spent 10 years with them.
And you've been on your own for the last?
Well, we've been together as a team for 2 years.
For 2 years. And how long have you been on your own?
I've been on my own.
2 years?
Just the 2 years.
2 years.
Right.
Awesome.
I was with couple other companies.
Well, what type of pest control do you two focus on in your business? What is your bread and butter? What are the type of customers that you go after?
We're full service general pest control. We do termite and pest control for residential and commercial. In fact, we're pretty wide. We take a pretty diverse. We do residential, commercial, industrial, municipal, and industrial.
Well, and you told me yesterday you ran our system last night, correct?
Yes, we were running it last night.
And that was for the city of Richmond?
Yes. Well, we do that Department of Mental Health, and they have a daycare center for the challenged adults. And they bring people in from all over the city, so they come from all types of environments.
Sure.
And periodically some of them will bring bed bugs in.
So they carry it to the daycare center from their own homes.
Right. And it's our responsibility to take care of it as far as the daycare center is concerned. We also handle their headquarters.
And that was a pretty big sized building yesterday.
Yes, it was.
Good sized job.
Yeah.
And
so we used all of the machines too.
Awesome.
Yes.
So I know when I first started talking to you, you seemed fairly confident. And yesterday when I was talking to David, he said he'd actually worked for another company that used Ozone in a little different way that I'd never heard of.
Correct.
Can you tell me a little bit about that, David?
Yeah, the company was called Sterotech, and they would do a shot treatment with Ozone for rodents, roaches and things of that nature. And it actually worked. It came in a small canister, but we never used it for bed bugs.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I'd never heard of, any pest control operators using it for rodents until last night. So that was interesting.
Yeah, I've actually conducted a test to actually see whether the ozone would have any effect on four-legged creatures. So I took a couple mice and rats, and the mice actually died within 2 days, and the rat, he just looked really weird, and of course he died.
Yep, and then you fed them to your pet snake, so all those environmentalists are still happy.
Sure.
And that's one of the amazing things, when you clear that structure of the people, the plants, and the pets, when you're looking to do the eradication of the viruses and the bacteria and the mold spores and destroy all the odors, the things that don't leave, those creepy crawlies that didn't get that eviction notice, are unlikely to survive the super high concentrations of ozone that we generate in order to develop the system.
Yes.
And I know that with any new technique, as I was mentioning, there's a learning curve. And you said it took you a couple of jobs to really get a feel for the equipment.
Right. I've been working with bed bugs for about 10 years, and primarily dealing with it from the perspective of using chemicals,
Yes.
the pesticides. And so that's an evolution in itself because of the resistance that's developed within the process. And then as we go into homes where people have tried a lot of different things, over-the-counter products, and so therefore you have a resistant strain that you don't know, so it's just a lot of things that you have to adjust to. So when we got your product, having read, and it just made sense to us.
Mm-hmm.
It just really made sense. So I looked at it, and then before I even got excited as far as David was concerned, I said, David, check this out. And I did not press him at all, just read it over. And he got excited. So when we both got excited about it independently, I said, well, this is something that we need to pursue. And we did. And but when we got it, we kind of wanted to make it the panacea.
Yes.
The super.
Yes.
What we did find out is that with this process, as opposed to heat, the insects don't die instantly.
There
That
is
was the
a
biggest thing.
delayed
There's a
mortality
delay.
we
That's
discovered.
right.
You know, we have a system owner in Canada, and I mentioned a little bit to you about this guy last night. He's been working with poultry barns, and he has been testing the use of ozone gas in between the flocks in order to cut down on the mortality. You know, our poultry industry is literally hemorrhaging all over the world. They lose 12% of their birds, flock in, flock out. And when you're talking a 300,000 burn barn, that's, 40,000 birds that die. And they're dying by and large due to pathogens. So with just one treatment of 3.5 or 4 hours, raising the barn to the levels necessary to kill the viruses and the bacteria, they've been able to reduce that flock mortality by 90%, flock in and flock out. Now, the reason I'm telling you the story has nothing to do with the germs in the poultry, because he did a barn that had a significant fly infestation. And the farmer had heard about the success that his neighbors were having with this treatment. He was interested in saving the birds, but he had this barn that not only had a lot of birds that were having problems, it had a massive fly infestation. Now, flies are one of the easier things to kill in the pest control world, but my customer Ian didn't know how it would work, so he decided to try it on this barn. And there were millions and millions of flies covering everything. He ran the machine only for 3 hours. Now we do run it for 5 to 6 hours with our bedbug treatment.
That's true.
And there was no apparent effect. So 2 days later, the farmer calls him back and he said, Ian, they're all dead. And so that's one of the things that we discovered. When you're doing these virus and bacteria treatments, the bugs that are in that structure that breathe that gas, it does destructive damage too. And they're just unlikely to survive, whether it may be 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, or 48 hours. They generally don't make it past the 2-day mark, has been our experience. And when you couple that with the powerful essential oil that has the ability to kill with just the vapors, and then you add the natural dust mechanical barrier, it becomes a process that is proven really effective. And you've told me it's been effective for you.
Yes, it has.
And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, you mentioned last night that in your sales presentations, you've really felt like you've had a competitive edge with the concept of green pest control.
Exactly.
And you, before this, had never marketed green. You were a traditional chemical-based
Well, that was
company.
one of the reasons that we actually sought out your machines. Because when we out there doing treatments with conventional products and things of that nature, my partner here always worries about the fact that that dust could contaminate us or do something to babies or something to that degree. So he was really on the search with the heat. We had went to many classes about different freezing machines and things like that. And when we just got really excited when we read your article and wanted to know a lot more. So at this point, we would say that that's one of the safest products that we have in our arsenal.
Yes. And do you have told me last night you were looking to expand it, and you've already even had a call from one of your apartment contracts, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what they asked you about?
Yeah, they have pet smells, cat odors. In the apartment, the person had feces all over the place, which was really disgusting at that point. And she had told me, actually, hey, your ozone machine makes buildings smell better. And I said, really? and she said, yeah, talk to your partner about it. So, hey, partner.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that when I developed this system, I was really trying to create not a one-time system for killing bed bugs, which was the original primary goal. But I could see, because of my background in the mold remediation and the water restoration industries, that there was really a multi-pronged system that could be built around the same core components. And in fact, we now have odor removal contractors all over the world on virtually every continent except Antarctica using our equipment for odor removal. And you can make consistent repeat revenue with the right contacts, especially in the property management world, just for odor removal. Whether it's dog and cat feces or urine smells, whether it's Mrs. Patel's curry in 311 or Uncle Frank's cigar or that dead guy that they didn't find for 2 weeks up in 214, it is something that the reason that the property managers are willing to invest money in an odor removal treatment isn't because they want to pay you $150 to $200 to get rid of the smell. It's because they want to save $500 over the cost of paint and carpet. Because in the property management world, once they've washed everything down, once they've run their carpet machine over that rug, the only real tool that they have in their arsenal to get rid of the odors is paint and carpet. And when you come in and set up not your whole system for bed bugs, but just 1 or 2 machines, and you can eradicate that odor in a few hours, it saves them money. And when it saves them money, it pays you money. And so, can you tell me a little bit more about the bed bug treatments? Because you said that the first couple of times you didn't quite have it prepped right, and you learned that this really is a process. It isn't a panacea. You don't just push the buttons and they all go away. You actually have to do your consistent, correct, normal protocols that you would follow for any heat treatment, for any steam treatment, or for any freezing protocol, or even a chemical protocol that's effective, correct?
Correct.
So tell me a little bit about how that worked for you.
Well, the people still have to prepare their clothing.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't get around that. So the clothing has to be washed or dried. If they're already clean, they have to be dried. We still need to empty the drawers and take the beds apart. The furniture needs to be exposed because we want to get the gas to all the areas. And if that is done properly, which is your conventional, when you're using pesticides, that's the proper process. Sure. Originally we thought we could get around some of that, but that is not the case. The other thing that we learned most of all was that, again, as I said earlier, they don't die instantly. So we tell people that we have, it's a 10 to 15 day cycle. You're going to see adults. In fact, last night I called a lady. This is Thursday now.
Mm-hmm.
We treated a home on Friday,
Mm-hmm.
and they stayed out that night. So they've been back since Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
They have not been bitten, but they have found bed bugs as late as yesterday, and even in the bed. But the key thing is, she knows that they haven't fed because they're still just brown. So they're moving slow or they're dying, and we told them to just kill them, just take those and remove them, and don't spray anything, and that's what's going on. And the lady's very, very happy. But if we had not told them that it would need 10 to 15 days, they would be, just really upset. We need to come back and retreat. And when we first started the process, we were going back after 7 days and retreating when we didn't necessarily need to.
And you've noticed that now, within a week to 15 days, they all die.
They all die.
You're not finding any hatched nymphs.
That's correct.
And the long-term cycle is they're all gone
That's right.
in one application.
That's right.
And
So 21 days usually, there should be no visible evidence of any. And that's what has happened to this day. So that's why we're happy with it. But we had to adjust to that also.
oh, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had to adjust.
And you mentioned that you have developed a strategy for really increasing your bottom line when it comes to bed bugs in relationship to the industry. You started
Right.
selling a bed bug service?
Yeah, well, before we even got your system,
Yes,
we recognized that we have several group homes.
yes.
So with a group home, you have people that come and go. It's a transient scenario.
Mhm.
So with that, we said, all right, what we need to do is, once we treat it for bed bugs, we need to put them on a maintenance program.
Mhm.
So what we've done essentially is we've taken what would be a monthly service charge and we've doubled it, and we cover the bed bugs. And because we're in there once a month, or whenever they call us, if a bed bug is seen, let's say in one bedroom,
Mhm.
we can come in, we'll take care of that.
And that's really amplified your profit margin.
Absolutely. And that way we don't have to treat the whole building again. Because when you get into thousands of dollars and the owners understand that, it really impacts that bottom line, and they have the comfort of knowing that we're taken care of.
Well, and that's one of that delayed mortality that you talked about is one of the things that I really noticed when we started doing real world treatments and experiments in our little glass cabinet in our shop. And what I discovered is that with most of the other chemicals that I sprayed, even the natural essential products, the bed bugs and the other bugs exhibit the alarm response, which is where they start to really freak out and go crazy. And with the other chemicals, it continues to last until they eventually do die, if they're going to die from it. And if not, if they shake it off and they survive, they still retain their normal capacities. But when you start exposing them to that gas, what we discovered is they exhibit that alarm response for the first 20 minutes, half hour. And then after that, they sort of hunker down and try and close their breathing tubes and stop. They try to hide from that gas, but there is nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, because it's a gas. And so we discovered that even if they do manage to survive that portion of the treatment, they end up dying anyway. And like you said, they're not able to feed anymore. And that's really a key to eradication in one application.
Right. If you can make them sick and they don't bite, then the job is pretty much done. What happens is when you use a lot of pyrethium and things of that nature, of just being man, and we're some of the best technicians on the planet, but we're subject to have error. So what happens is when you go and you dust and you treat around carpets and things, we're human. So you may have a pocket and a crack that you don't know. So what happens is that bed bug has to meet that product. Whereas with the ozone meets the bug where it hides.
That's right.
So it depends on what you pop off and what you open up, that ozone gets up in there.
That's right.
So that makes it a lot easier to cause something to happen in the wall, which is movement. And once that movement starts, they're going to come out with the CO2 and the dust and everything else. They tend to want to come out, but that ozone gets back up in the wall, whereas nothing that we do gets up in the wall, including heat or ice.
And that was the original concept I had with the ozone machines and the concept of positive pressurization, which is to force that gas into the wall voids. Because that's the real problem. Bedbugs aren't particularly hard to kill as a bug. They're particularly hard to get the product on because they're such good hiders. And I think you'd agree with that.
Yes.
And so, one of the things that is become a dirty word somehow in our culture is making a profit, but it should never be, because that's the reason we're in this business. So in talking to you two last night, one of the things that I mentioned is, what's the real reason you guys wanted to start focusing on bed bugs?
Well, believe it or not, we just we like solving problems, and we know that the end result is profit.
That's
and the
right.
bed bugs is something that a lot of people don't know how to handle.
Right.
And we do believe that if you do something well, then you should be paid for it.
So you
And
did
paid
get
well.
into this
Yes.
for profit.
So for profit,
Right.
yes.
We're the pest control company's best friends when it comes to bed bugs. They rely on us to do a lot
Well,
of work.
you told me that you've started to get, you've developed a program and you're actually getting referrals
Yes.
from your competitors.
That's correct.
Yeah.
What we found is that a lot of the competitors are not ready to make the necessary adjustments to get into bedbug work because it's time consuming and it's frustrating if you
Mhm.
don't really know it. So, and they don't want to put the man hours in it, because normal, quote unquote, normal termite, bedbug work, you put 2 people in, they're out of the field for the day.
That's right.
You're talking a standard 4 hours to treat a house.
Times
for
2.
people.
Yeah.
Times 2. And I mean, that's a lot of manpower.
It is.
Now, we've come in with this process, and what they've done is they'll come to us and say, hey, look, just give me a little piece of the action and you take this,
Yeah.
since you like doing it. And now that's beginning to pick up. I have one company that does bedbug work, but they'll sub us in just for the machines.
Really.
Correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And especially the hard ones that
Well-
they claim are hard. They think they're hard.
Well, what you told me last night really, really tickled me pink. And that was that you really only have 45 minutes of setup.
Yeah. It's a matter of taking the machines in, getting them right, making sure that like taking plates off and so forth.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take that long to set up. Then we're gone.
And you go on to your next job.
Right.
Correct.
And then we'll
Very
come
far.
back. Now what we do is we'll come back and visit the site, depending upon how much furniture and so forth is in the house.
Yeah.
We may come back 2 times in a 6-hour period, because
That's
we run the
amazing.
machines for 6 hours. We'll come in, and in that time, you may stay in the house or building 15 minutes at the most, just moving things, because you don't want, if something's sitting here, that means gas can't get up under it. So just, if you don't move anything but 6 inches away,
Yeah.
just to have exposure,
Yes.
and then you come back and do it again. And then at the end of the 6 hours, then you come in and you stay maybe an hour. And that's where you dust and take your machines out, and once you do that, then you fog, and fogging takes 5 minutes.
You can do a
If
whole
that,
entire.
you can do a house, 1,800 square foot house in less than 5 minutes.
Right. Easy.
So you really have
And
cut
then you're gone.
the time less than half, or half at least.
Less than half.
Yeah. less than
And
half.
we have the ability, because we have the gold package, the ability to run 2 or 3 bed bug jobs at once in apartment complexes, where if you only have 1 man, 2 men, you're working on one apartment, you're working on another apartment, you're working on another apartment. We can actually have the ability to run as many as needed
That's right.
at the exact same time.
It's amazing, really. I mean, and with those amount of equipment you have, you could honestly do 10 apartment bed bug or odor jobs at once.
That's true.
That's true.
Because the odor removal does not require nearly the volume of gas that we're looking to achieve
And
during
not
the
nearly
bed
the
bug
time.
treatments or the time. No, it's about 10 minutes to set up and 5 minutes to break down an odor job, unless you're treating the carpets with the carpet machine. That may add 20 minutes. And that's only, maybe a third of the odor removal jobs. So 2/3 don't require anything like that. And that's one of the things that I really wanted to break out. You mentioned that you're in this for the profit.
Absolutely.
And the reason that I discovered that in the pest control world, bed bugs have become, synonymous with gold, is that regular service contracts feed your families and they keep your business running. But prior to bed bugs, other than tenting for termites, there really was no big high profit cash in. And with the bed bug treatments, you're in the pest control world able to go after those big chunks of money.
Well, there's two parts to that, because the money is very important, but because of the machines, it's in the know-how. What we know is the quality of service that we give to these clients, and it's not even raising the price. To be honest with you, it's just more volume of work. So it becomes, how can I say, our work becomes a lot tighter, because pest control is a science.
Sure.
And yeah, the cash value is great, which is awesome for a business. But the key component, the key factor to it is that it makes us more thorough, and it sets us apart from your conventional pest control companies that most people know about.
So it's allowed you to develop what's called in marketing a unique selling proposition.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And
Which does translate into more
money.
profit.
that's right. Well, and I did bring this up last night for a little bit, and that is that there's another way you can get big chunks of money using this exact same equipment. And it's the biggest challenge I've had in dealing with my pest control customers, as opposed to the guys that are just getting in this and want to do everything that they can with the equipment to make money because they're not from a particular industry already. And that is, you're already almost equipped to start doing fungus and mold treatments. And by just going and getting the extra certifications for mold inspection and mold remediation that's required, you already have virtually every piece of equipment that you need to start cashing in on those profits. And you are in the state of Virginia.
That's correct.
And in Virginia, there are a lot of crawl spaces. And folks, I can guarantee you from my background as one of the world's foremost authorities in the science of mold remediation, having developed what's been called the world's first green or all-natural mold remediation protocol, that crawl spaces have mold.
Yeah.
And if you're already sending your techs crawling through those crawl spaces to do your pest control treatments, it is an absolute no-brainer to take your flashlight with you, to do a thorough examination for fungus, to keep your cell phone camera handy, take those pictures. When you come back up, you show them to the homeowner, because pests are pests, but fungus affects your health. And health is precious, and people are willing to pay to make their health better and to improve their quality of life. And I can tell you what you need to do an average mold remediation is a fogger. You got a fogger with my system. Ozone equipment. You got the ozone equipment. Truck mounted spray rig. You got a truck mounted spray rig. And a necessary understanding of how to apply borates in a proper fashion.
And we do that.
And so virtually every pest control operator that I've met in the country has almost all the knowledge they need to start going after other high dollar jobs that aren't bedbug jobs, that aren't termite jobs, simply by getting a little bit more education and then by leveraging the equipment in your gold package. Because the average crawl space treatment nationwide that we see is between $2,500 and $5,000. And that's a big chunk of money. So you already have your contract work that feeds your family, that pays your bills. Now you start bringing in these chunks from the bedbug jobs and chunks from the mold remediation. And then with this modern climate of superbugs, and I'm not talking about bug bugs, I'm talking about bacteria and viruses. There are now not only just resistant pests from the pest control world, we now have resistant bacteria and viruses and superbugs that make us sick. Now there are schools all over America paying huge money to let contractors come in and fog chemicals. Very similar to the pest control world, except they're fogging biocides. Well, I can guarantee you that there is no more effective biocide on planet Earth than ozone gas. It kills all the viruses, all the bacteria, all the mold spores. It does it in a way that they'll never ever develop a resistance through oxidative degradation. It punches a hole right in the cell wall and oxidizes the guts. And by simply looking to expand your horizons and work these contracts you already have a contract with the city of Richmond. So now they know that you're a quality contractor. They know that you stand behind your work. Just by hanging these multiple shingles, sanitizing services, odor removal services, mold remediation services, and pest control services, you have now gotten a way to put multiple hooks in the water. It's kind of like going fishing and putting 5 kinds of bait out behind your boat. Now you can catch 5 kinds of fish all at the same time with the same equipment.
Yeah, so what you're saying is pretty much we could do a fungus treatment, a bedbug treatment, and what do you call it,
Odor removal?
odor removal all in the same house at one time.
You can.
And we're actually doing it when we do
And we're doing
bedbug
it
work.
anyway.
That's
Wow.
right.
Wow.
You add the borate treatment to your structural members and you've prevented all the fungus components. And I don't know if you're familiar, but the Nikon product line for the borate line, which you told me you've used in the past, they're label approved for eradicating all the decay and dry rot fungi.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So now with just a little extra training and certifications and the proper leveraging of your equipment, you have now got yourself one big lever to put more cash into your bank account. And so the only other things I really wanted to ask you about is for people that are watching this video that are possibly PMPs or PCTs in other parts of the country that have seen the ads in the magazines, that have heard about the ozone, but they don't really believe it. They're really skeptical. Is there anything that you can tell these potential customers as to what you would do if you were in their boat?
I'd buy the system. That's what we did, and we've been satisfied. It's paying for itself.
No regrets.
No regrets. No regrets. In fact, as we are, the longer we have it, the more we're finding that we can do with it, as you just discussed. So it's a win-win situation.
Anything you'd add to that, David?
I would say that pest control is a science. So if pest control is a science, why not be revolutionary like us? And at this point, we're one of the leaders in our area in technology. So I would say definitely in our bottom line, it works.
Awesome.
So buy the system instead of that next truck. Keep the truck going.
That's right.
You know, put a couple $1,000s in repair that truck.
You're right.
And buy the system.
Right, for your future.
I agree. Investing in your futures,
it
investing
pays
in your
for itself.
family.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time this morning. I know that you've got a bedbug
We
job to
got
go
one to
do
go
right
right
now. I did one last night, so the system is paying for itself.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
Thank you so very much this
All right.
morning.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It's good.
Oh.